Have you ever wondered what's really going on inside your head when you're juggling more than one language? Well, it turns out it's a full-on workout for your brain, with some pretty amazing benefits. So, let's get right into it.
Let's try a little something. ¿Hablas español?
Okay, how about parlez-vous français?
Or maybe 你会说中文呢?
Hey, if you understood any of those, you're actually not the exception. You're the rule. It's a common misconception, but being bilingual or even multilingual is the norm for the majority of people on this planet. Pretty cool, right?
I mean, yeah, it's super useful for ordering food on vacation or binge-watching a show from another country. But the real story, the really fascinating part, is what's happening under the hood. What does all this language juggling actually do to our brains?
Okay, so to get a handle on this, you gotta know that there isn't just one way to become bilingual. There are actually a few different paths you can take. To make this super clear, let's meet Gabriela and her family. Their story, moving from Peru to the US, is a perfect example.
But before we do that, let's just quickly define what it even means to know a language. It really boils down to four main skills. You've got the active ones, speaking and writing, and the passive ones, listening and reading. And what's interesting is that most bilingual people have a totally unique mix of strengths across these skills for each language. All right, so let's get back to Gabriela's family. Gabriela herself, she's what we'd call a simultaneous bilingual. Basically, she grew up learning both Spanish and English at the exact same time. Her brother, on the other hand, is a consecutive bilingual. He got Spanish down first and then learned English, probably in school. And her parents? They're adult learners. They came to English later in life, using their native Spanish as a foundation. See? 3 totally different journeys, but they all end up in the same place: bilingualism. So the big question is, does the brain handle these different paths differently? You bet it does. And thanks to all this amazing modern brain imaging tech, we can literally peek inside and see how a kid's brain tackles language compared to an adult's. It's pretty wild.
It really comes down to this big idea that scientists call the critical period hypothesis. And don't let the fancy name fool you. The concept is super simple. It just means that kids' brains are like little sponges. They're incredibly flexible, or what scientists call plastic. And because of that flexibility, they use both sides of their brain to just soak up language. And here is where it gets really interesting. A child's brain is using both hemispheres, the right and the left. This makes their learning more, I guess, holistic and even emotional. But for most adults, language processing gets concentrated in just one primary area, the left hemisphere, which is our more logical, analytical side. So what does that mean? It means adults tend to learn by the rules, very logically, while kids just feel it out. They learn intuitively.
But here's the good news. No matter how or when you learn, being bilingual gives your brain a serious boost. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a personal gym for your brain, and it's open 24/7. And the gains from this mental workout? They are absolutely incredible. Get this. Studies show that being a lifelong bilingual can actually delay the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia by as much as 5 years. That's huge. It's because it builds up what's called a cognitive reserve. Think of it like extra brain power, a backup generator that helps your mind fight off damage for way longer.
And it doesn't stop there. Not even close. Bilingual brains literally have more dense gray matter. You know, the stuff that does all the heavy lifting, the thinking. It also strengthens your prefrontal cortex, which is basically the CEO of your brain. This supercharges your executive functions. What are those? Well, it just means you get better at things like problem solving, switching between tasks, and, my personal favorite, filtering out all that useless, distracting information. You're not just adding a skill, you're literally upgrading your brain's hardware.
So how does this actually happen? Well, every single time a bilingual person goes to speak, their brain has to make a split-second decision. Okay, we're using this language now and we're ignoring that other one. That constant switching, that mental juggling act, that's the workout. That's what builds a stronger, more flexible, more resilient brain. Now, all these benefits seem so obvious to us today, right? But believe it or not, it wasn't always seen this way. In fact, for a long time, the common belief was the exact opposite. Yeah, seriously. Before the 1960s, a bunch of really flawed studies actually convinced experts that being bilingual was a handicap. They thought it confused kids and slowed them down. It's wild to think about now because today we know the complete truth. That handicap, that extra effort, is actually the very thing that gives the brain such a powerful workout. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Look, being bilingual might not automatically raise your IQ or make you a genius. That's not the point. The point is that it makes your brain healthier, more complex, and keeps it actively engaged, and that's a benefit that lasts a lifetime.
The science is crystal clear on this one. Learning another language is one of the absolute best things you can do for your brain health. And you know what the best part is? It is never too late to start.
So think about it. Your brain is ready for its next challenge. Whether you decide to learn to say hello, or hola, or bonjour, or ni hao, just remember that every single new word is another rep at the gym. So the only real question left to ask is, what are you going to teach it?